Shane Murphy here, entrepreneur and restaurant marketing expert. Welcome to the Restaurant Rocket Fuel podcast, where we discuss marketing strategies that leading restaurateurs are using to grow and expand their restaurants. This podcast is sponsored by Boostly, the text marketing company that works with every point of sale and online ordering vendor in the industry. No contracts, no monthly fees. Learn more at boostly.com. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are joined by Rev Ciancio, who is one of the biggest influencers and industry names for restaurant marketing. If you've been to a food show, you've definitely bumped into Rev at some point along the way. He's not only a restaurateur, but he's really made it his mission over the last 15 plus years to help restaurants level up their marketing game so that they can attract and retain more customers. So Rev, thank you for joining us today. I'm super pumped for this conversation. I've been looking forward to it for a long time.
Thanks, Shane. I appreciate the positive intro there, and thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. Maybe before we dive into the marketing talk in general, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and really what brought you to this point in the industry?
Sure. I mean, that's a really long story, but I'll tell it as quickly as possible. I was in the music business. When I got out of college, I got into the music business, and I was managing rock and roll and heavy metal and punk bands, and that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I woke up one day and I was like, man, I hate musicians. I've had enough of this. I want to go be in the hospitality biz. And at the time, me and some friends had bought a bar, so I was kind of already in it. And I gave up the rock and roll agency to go get into the restaurant business. I've always been attracted to hospitality. Eating food and going out has always been like a big deal to my family. And I've always loved the plight of like the local restaurant operator. And so it just seemed like the obvious choice. And then I learned that chefs and restaurateurs aren't really that much different from rock and roll musicians. Yeah. But as my friends who are in the music business will once in a while like, oh, how's the food business? I tell them the same thing. It's like, well, you can't download a cheeseburger, so we have that going for us. But yeah, it came from wanting to be in it. And then, it sort of chose me. I ended up in technology. COVID comes along. I was the chief marketing officer of a hospitality tech company. I got let go, not because I sucked, but because COVID did. And I started this consulting agency, and the consulting agency kind of blew up. And then that's it, man. Here I am. I'm a fractional CMO for restaurants. I help them with their marketing. And then I also own a quick service hamburger shop in New York City. So I like to tell people I'm also an operator. I have operator problems. I get stuck in operator weeds.
I love that. Like we were jamming on this just before we started, but I got my intro to the business world and music as well. I was a jazz performing musician in Michigan. And like I definitely understand that love of the plight of the restaurateur. I feel like a lot of musicians are empathetic towards that as well, where you work really hard, you don't generally have as much as you'd like or deserve to come from that, but like there's this draw in the music industry of some of the best people who are passionate about what they do, and I think that's a great story, and love how you came to be where you are.
There's a lot of similarity. I was joking with somebody the other day, like I kind of like the show. Like in the music business, it is the show. You're on stage, the band's playing, you're selling tickets, there's merchandise or whatever. But like when you're in a restaurant and it's like full volume, it's a Friday night, every table's full, or it's lunch on a Friday and you're quick serve, and everyone's busy and you're just running around, like that's the show. Like I kind of love that like controlled chaos energy where like we've planned for this is how it's supposed to go, but like anything can happen, you know what I mean? And it's like I kind of really like that. And to me that is kind of the similarity of like the service model and the entertainment model is like it's a show, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I learned in the music industry, I was always better at the business side of music than I was the actual music side.
Same.
And like marketing plays a role in that. And that's something that I had learned early on as a musician of, gosh, the only reason I'm more successful than other musicians in the area is because I'm figuring out how to get myself in front of more people, give myself more at bats, and build a network of people who I can just get repeat business over and over again from. And that's a big part of the restaurant model is, getting in front of new customers, giving them an amazing experience that they just, and then turning them into repeat guests over and over again. I'm curious from your stance. We obviously have like acquisition marketing, we have retention marketing, we have branding. Like, how should restaurants think about these different forms of marketing, and maybe what are some of like your favorite like strategies and things that you're seeing people be successful in each of these different areas?
Sure. I'm going to come at this a slightly different way. Okay.
Yeah, please.
I believe that everybody on the planet only frequents 4 or 5 restaurants. Okay. There's like the place you go for coffee or juice or whatever your liquid vice is, right? There's the place near your office where you get lunch most frequently. There's like the other place that you eat most frequently when you're home. There's the place you eat with your family, and there's like a rotating fifth, right? That's it. Like, that's it. We all actually only frequent 5 restaurants. Okay. If your restaurant is in my top 5, your only job is to stay top of mind so I don't replace you with a new one. Okay. But if your restaurant is not in my top 5, it's your job to get there. Right. And so when you break it down to like that simple level of thinking, it's a whole lot easier. Because you'll find restaurants always like, oh, if I could just get 10 new guests, like, well, what if you could just get 10 guests to come back one more time? That would be much easier. You know what I mean? Or you get these restaurants like, oh, if I could just get somebody to do this one thing, like, well, it's kind of not that easy. Right. But then again, it is. And so, like, how does that break down? If you are capturing every single guest's contact information, whether that's in acquisition or retention. So whether, you're running an ad that says, put your email address in here and get $5 off your first order, or you're capturing their email when they place an order, or you're getting it through a feedback afterwards. As long as you're getting the contact info of your guest, it's a lot easier for you to get somebody back in by staying top of mind by doing retention marketing. So I kind of think of it as like, do you really need 10 more guests, or you just need 10 more guests to come back? Now, my restaurant happens to be in Times Square, Bryant Park. We kind of actually do need 10 new guests because most of our guests are only ever going to see us once because, man, if you live in Yugoslavia, I don't care how much you like my burger, you ain't coming next week. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like in my case, I do really need 10 new guests a week because 72% of my guests are transients, right? But if you're like Ferrazzoli, the pizza shop down the street from my apartment here, like their new guest acquisition is like this because it's all like families. So like they need retention marketing. So either way, getting the guests' information is the key to the success. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, I love that. That's been one of the biggest things that Boostly was built on is leveraging customer data. And you can only leverage customer data if you're collecting customer data and getting insights on customers. We talk a lot about the eating algorithm, which is when you're hungry, you think of what are the top 3 to 5 places that come to mind, and then you run a series of things like what you described of the top 5, but it's critical to be in the top 3 to 5. Maybe dive a little bit deeper on that, with maybe some of the examples, whether it's Ferrazzoli's or some other place that you've worked with, of how do they go about staying in the top 5?
That's a really good question. And if you're talking to independent operators, it's kind of the right question, right? But also like that works for McDonald's, like how to stay top 5. Here's the thing. You and I, we're in the industry. We know lots of smart people. We know lots of brands. We know lots of technology companies. And there are lots of people that tell you need this segmentation, this automation, and don't send this person that email and make sure that if they haven't come in, blah, 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 it's all bupkis. Okay. I would tell every restaurant on the planet, including Popeyes and Applebee's, if you send your guest a newsletter on the frequent that has something in it they'll be interested in, it kind of checks a lot of boxes. Right. And so if you're an independent operator, sending a weekly newsletter to your guests that literally says like, hey, do you like steak? Do you know we do catering? Do you follow us on social media? Have you tried our combos yet? Like if that's all you do, you're going to be better than most of the restaurants out there. So by simply sending regular emails to your guests, like you're in a pretty good spot. Right. So if you're not doing that, that's the next step.
Yeah. And, there's a lot to that. And I think that people can run the risk of overcomplicating this as well, where we say there's a lot to it, and there is. Like, what do people actually care about? What is going to grab their attention? How do I get them to open that message in the first place? But at the end of the day, like, you have menus, you have combos, you might have a loyalty program or a text club or things that people will care about, and you're optimizing for people who already like you. And that's what you mentioned in the beginning is critical. Is it 10 new guests, or is it 10 people coming back one more time? Really, it's sixes, but there is power of you just getting people who like you to keep coming more often and staying in front of them so that you're in that top 5 when they think about, oh gosh, it's time for this type of food, or I'm hungry, whatever it is. I love that.
But yeah, staying top of mind is not as hard as people think it is. And, it could be, it's the reason why we have social media. It's the reason why we have text messaging. It's the reason why we have an app. It's the reason why we can, why people put up billboards. It's like, if I can get my brand in front of your eyes enough times, you won't forget I exist.
Yep, absolutely. That's the critical juncture right there.
Yeah, people used to say all the time that location is everything. Well, location is now right here in my hand, So like, can you get it in front of my face? So my location is where I'm at now.
Yeah, we talk about this sometimes of like the digital storefront, and I'm curious your perspective. How should restaurants be thinking about like Google at this point? Google Maps, search. What's your perspective there?
I mean, let me put it this. I get asked this question a lot, and thank you for bringing it up. I guarantee any restaurant goes and looks at the analytics of their website. And again, it doesn't matter if you're Chili's, you're Burger King, or you're Rev's Taco Shack. Okay. I guarantee the top 2 sources of traffic to your website are Google Direct and Google Search. Okay. Do you know the difference between direct and search is?
Yes, but why don't you explain it for the audience?
Okay. So Google Search is best hot wings near me. And Google has said, oh, you should try Rev's Taco and Wing Shack. That's search. Direct is people don't bookmark your website anymore. Even if I've been to your website a million times, they still open a Google browser and they type your name in, and they know Google's going to take you. So if I Google Rev's Taco and Wing Shack, it's going to give me the link. That's direct. Okay. Either way, I guarantee the top 2 sources of traffic to any restaurant's website is both Google. So if you know that 80 to 90 to 70% of your traffic is coming from Google, that means it's pretty important, right? And so how important do I think Google is another way to answer the question. Like, it's mission critical, right? And so every restaurant, 60 to 72% of your guests will have search in their journey. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, for sure, a new guest. So if I've searched best wings near me, that's search. And then I get to your Google profile and I click, right? But also, like, guests who have been to your restaurant before will still have search in their journey. Because maybe they want to see what's else on your menu, or maybe they want to place an online order, or they need directions, or they want to check to see if that thing that you promote on some social media is available, or they want to know if you have a gluten-free menu, or they want to know what time whatever. Those are all search functions. Right. So if your Google profile is not optimized to answer the question I have, then you've broken the customer journey. So Google to me is mission critical. It's a part of 2 out of 3 of every single guest journey every single day. And so, and the other thing too about Google is it's free. It's easy to optimize, and Google tells you exactly what to do. So any restaurant that screws that up, man, it's your fault, because that thing's free. It's easy, and they've given you instructions.
Yeah, like we see the exact same thing. I mean, earlier this year we expanded from just being like an SMS marketing provider to more of a true full growth platform that handles from acquisition on SEO, Google, from search, from maps, all the way through retention marketing, through SMS channels, review response, you name it. And Google is the largest storefront that people have. It is the digital storefront today. Your website is critical to that, but Google is potentially even more critical to getting people to that point.
At the burger shop, we ask every single guest for feedback in every single order. If they give us feedback, we will ask them more questions like a day later. And one of the questions that we've asked, I've been doing it for years, is how did you find out about us? And I don't give them an option to fill in the blank. I give them like 12 options, right? And I actually don't care how they discover us. I care how they think they discovered us, right? So when they give me the answer, I'm looking at what they thought, not what they actually did. Okay. I'm telling you, Shane, since the day we started asking, the number 2 answer is Google. Okay. The number 1 answer is they walked by. Now, again, we're in Times Square, Bryant Park. So foot traffic is justified as part of your marketing budget known as rent. But for the most, it's Google. And it's even if I've heard of the place, oh yeah, how do we get there is part of my search journey. So super important.
Yep. Absolutely. That's super helpful to hear. I know we're running short on time here before the end. So maybe as we wrap up, maybe what's one of the most creative marketing moments that you've recently witnessed in the restaurant space? I think this can help to just grease the wheels and help people to think outside of the box or think creatively as they're approaching their own marketing for their restaurant. What have you witnessed recently that really caught your attention?
Oh man, that is such a difficult question because I see everything. So, like, what is the most creative thing? I was just paying attention to this the other day. Most people probably would have not seen it the way I've seen it, but I just watched Burger King do their guest appreciation week, right? They call it rewards week or whatever. But the idea is for 7 days, 7 days, 7 deals, right? Now, I know about this playbook because Melissa Cummings from Tropical Smoothie, she showed me the playbook, and then we tested it at Salad House, and then, of course, Burger King did it, so like it's top of mind for me. But the idea is this, okay? You're going to have a week of deals. So it could be buy one, get one free, buy this, get half off that. Could be spend $1, get something. We're going to have a week of deals, okay? However, guests can't access the deals and promos unless they're in your rewards club or your e-club. Okay, so they can't just walk in the door. They have to have given you their contact info.
I was going to say, you're saying they have to collect their contact information?
Contact info, yes. So the idea is you get access to this, but you have to be a part of the club. Okay, now the 2 to 3 weeks before Guest Appreciation Week launches is guest sign-up week. So for 2 to 3 weeks, you're like, you got to join the awards. You got to join our e-club. You got to be a part of our text message group because this thing's coming. You're not going to get it. So you have this like focus on sign up. Then you have this focus on execution. And so it's full cycle rewards or e-club marketing. Now, here's the key is you run Guest Appreciation Week at a time of the year when you're not busy enough. So is that week going to be gangbusters as a result of running Guest Appreciation Week? No, but it's going to even that week out, right? So you can't expect it to be your worst week to now become your best week. If it does, amazing. But the idea is I've saved 1 week at being better. I've also gotten more people into my rewards. I've also taught people to use my system. So I think that's pretty interesting. I don't think you have to be Burger King or Domino's to run that. I think you could be a local restaurant. We do stuff like this at the burger shop all the time. We're going to do Black Friday. Pretty simple. Free French fries on Black Friday. As long as you're in our e-club. It's not that hard. So I think that's a pretty cool way. Be willing to give somebody something if they give you their contact data.
Absolutely love it. Well, Rev, thank you so much for all your insights and wisdom today. This was awesome. We have 19, 20 minutes, and there are like 10 different golden nuggets that people can pull out and go and apply, which is so awesome. So thank you for that. Where can people go to learn more about you, what you do, join your newsletters? How can they follow you?
Sure. So again, thank you for the kind words. I'm grateful to be here, and I hope everybody else got something from this. I'm Rev Ciancio on every social media platform: LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. Just look for Rev Ciancio. Also, I write a weekly restaurant newsletter at www.restaurantsgrow. That's restaurants plural, restaurantsgrow.tv. It's free. And each week I put up, restaurant tips, tricks, and tactics, kind of just like this. So if you just want more of this, restaurantsgrow.tv. It's also my LinkedIn profile. You can message me there. So it's probably the easiest way to get more out of this.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rev. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Encourage everyone to go to restaurantsgrow.tv and check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Restaurant Rocket Fuel. And thank you to the amazing restaurateurs that work so hard to provide an amazing guest experience for our communities. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Boostly. To see how we can drive more revenue to your business, visit boostly.com. Don't forget to subscribe and go out there and maximize the potential that you and your business have in front of you.